Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria Online. Still online here, still social isolating during this time, and very much looking forward to being back in our physical facility at 380 Cook Street next Sunday. Anyway, it's lovely to have you with us. If this is your first time joining us today, my name is Carrie Hunter, and I am the Senior Minister at the CSL Victoria. And of course, if you're here on a regular basis, then you already know that. And it's just great to see you all today. And I look forward to sharing the message with you. If you have been here the past few weeks, you know that for the last 6 weeks, I've been focused upon the story, the book, the movie, The Wizard of Oz, and Jane Houston's book, The Wizard of Us. And I've also been looking at the metaphors that I find in this story, the metaphors that are spiritual, that are meaningful to me on the pathway of my own life and on the lives that we live. And little did I know when I started this one and knew that Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz was going to be going through a journey that had its ups and downs and it had its very dark places as well, that we were going to be in the place that we are right now in society. When I look at what's been happening the past few weeks, the protests everywhere, it's remarkable how it just fits in with this story. So I'm going to talk about Dorothy's journey today, but I'm also going to talk about how that fits in with what's been happening around us. Dorothy, of course, and her colleagues have reached the Emerald City, and they have met the wizard. Now, they thought the wizard was some mystical creature. They didn't realize that he was just a man. Um, and and I thought how interesting it is. I mean, when they met him, and Toto actually pulled the curtain away that he was hiding behind. Um, when they met him, they started to kind of have a sinking feeling, like, was he really going to be able to help them? And so when Dorothy said that she wanted to get home to Kansas, and Scarecrow wanted a brain, and Tin Man wanted a heart, and Lion wanted courage, the wizard then sent them back. He said that before he could do anything for them, they were going to have to go and kill the Wicked Witch of the West. And that was already terrifying because they'd had encounters with the Wicked Witch of the West, and she just wanted to get rid of them. So off they went. Really a courageous journey for them. And I was thinking about this and wondering, what's the metaphor in that? What is the metaphor in Dorothy and her friends being sent back again and being asked to kill the witch? And perhaps she still had something left that she had to give up, something she had to surrender. Maybe there was some fear left. Maybe that's what it was. But also, I was looking at the wizard as being the God figure and thinking how interesting it was that he was striking a bargain with them. He said, "You go and kill the witch, and you get her broomstick and bring it back to me, and then I will grant you your wishes." Well, what we know in this teaching is that God doesn't bargain with us, and we don't bargain with God. I mean, we might think we are. We might say, "Oh, I promise, I promise, I promise that I'll always be good. I'll go to church every Sunday. I will, do wonderful things for humanity. If only you will grant me this one prayer right now." That's usually the desperate prayer. It's a time when we're in absolute distress and we don't know where to turn and we start bargaining. But that's not what it's all about. We do not bargain. We simply accept that this power, this amazing holy power, is right here within us, and it is all around us. And we simply need to express what it is that we wish to create. Not saying, "I want to create this," because that leaves us wanting to. Not saying, "I hope that it will," because then we're left hoping, but saying, "It is done." Where we absolutely see the end result, where if it were Dorothy, she would simply see nothing but being home in Kansas, just as her companions would see nothing but exactly what it was that they wanted. They would see that as a mental image, and that would take them there, that would lead them there. And so this wizard was a fake in the sense that he wasn't the mystical creature that they thought he was going to be. He certainly wasn't God. But anyway, the group went off, and if you recall the movie or the book, Dorothy threw a pail of water at Scarecrow when the witch lit him on fire, and then the water hit the witch, and she started to melt. Water was what melted her. And metaphysically, Jean Houston says that water is it's the water of life. It is what brings us to life. So it was bringing Dorothy and her friends to a greater version of themselves, a greater vision of themselves, a greater expression of themselves. And I was thinking that with what we're seeing going on right now, we really need that water of life out there in the streets. We need that water of life in our society. We need that water of life to break down decaying institutions, to uplift people, to shift our education, our systems of education, to help us to be more creative, to help us to really be the best expressions of ourselves that we can be. This is a time that it is so important. And so when Dorothy and her friends got back to the wizard again, realizing that he was kind of a fake, he came out with a certificate for Scarecrow saying that he had graduated. And so Scarecrow then thought he had a brain. And he gave Tin Man a heart-shaped watch. So Tin Man had a heart that made a sound. And he gave Lion a medal. And so Lion then thought he had courage. And he said to Dorothy that he himself lived in Kansas, and she just had to hop into the hot air balloon, and he would take her home. And so she hopped into the hot air balloon with Toto, but Toto jumped out of the basket. And remember, Toto is the messenger here. And Dorothy jumped out of the basket going after Toto, and the wizard could not get the balloon back down to pick Dorothy up again. And she was very, very distressed about that. And so here we have Toto leading Dorothy to the truth of who she really was. And Glinda, the good witch, appeared in this beautiful shimmering bubble. And Dorothy was distressed, saying she was never going to get home to Kansas. And Glinda said, "Nonsense, Dorothy. All you have to do is click together the heels of your ruby red slippers, and you'll be back in Kansas." And so what that represented is Dorothy understanding her truth, understanding that she had the brains, understanding that she had the heart, understanding that she had the courage, and understanding that home was within her. Home is that spiritual realm, that place that we are all growing toward, that the pathway that we're on. That's our yellow brick road. That's the yellow brick road. That's the metaphor in this whole story, that we're all searching for our spiritual fulfillment, whether or not we're aware of it. And along the way, we have obstacles to overcome. And along the way, we find things that we don't like. Along the way, we find things that really upset us and disturb us, and things that might frighten us. And so this story tells us that we just keep on going straight ahead, straight down the path, and we will get there. And we'll get to that. We'll get home to God, home to that place within that we've been searching for. And we're all pilgrims on that path right now. And so we have to really look at what that represents in our own lives. Certainly during this time, after the death of George Floyd, it's brought so much awareness to people. And we tend to think that we live in much more violent times than we ever have before. And that's really not true. And you might want to argue that with me. But the thing is, we have not seen all of the violence before. The violence has been going on for hundreds of years, for thousands of years. But there haven't been cameras around. There haven't been video recordings. There haven't been cell phones. There hasn't been the technology. There hasn't been the social media that we have today. And if there had not been people recording the death of George Floyd, there might not be any protesters in the street, and there might be absolutely nothing going on. But what has happened is that George Floyd's death has poured water on our own lives, on our own consciousness. People are outraged. You know, for many, many years, we were probably sleeping in the poppy fields, what I talked about last week. You know, we wake up for a while and there's change. You know, there was change during the civil rights movement in the United States. And then we fall back to sleep again. And we start to ignore the things that are going around us. We don't see them. But this time, I don't know about you, but I really feel like this is different this time. These protests continue. As I am recording this today, there are still protests going on in the streets everywhere. And it's not just African Americans who are marching. People of every race are marching. In some places, they are celebrating. In other places, they are angry. You know, this shows up in many different ways, just as Dorothy's journey showed up for her in many different ways. And what we need to realize is that we actually live in hopeful times, and it's important for us to keep focused upon that these times are no worse than any other. It's just that they're unfolding for us before our eyes. We are witnesses to the violence. I don't know about you, but last time I went to a movie, which was before the pandemic, I was just shaking my head at the trailers for the new films that were coming out. So much violence in them, and I just kept saying, pass on that one. Going to pass on that one, not going to go and see that one. You know, there's that longing to see things that make me feel good, a longing for things that are beautiful, a longing for stories that are uplifting, that really reveal to us a better way to live, that take us to happier times. I have an old friend who passed away a few years ago. His name was Les Brown, and Les was a futurist and wrote several books, and he worked for the New York Times, and then he founded several magazines which were based on communications and social justice. Really a remarkable man. And he used to say, you know, just look to your leadership in your countries today, and what is going on is being displayed in television fiction. He said, he said at this time, and this was probably about 20, 30 years ago, Les said, you know, when we look at television, when we look at the various programs, when we see the films that are out there, they're reflecting things within us, things that are in society, things that we want to see. Well, not this person. I didn't want to see that kind of stuff. And so it's time for us to demand something better in our media. And at the same time, to be grateful that we have the kind of media right now that shows us what's actually going on in this world. I mean, that is a gift. It is a gift that is given to us so that we ourselves can affect some change. And this is the time, the absolute time for that. You know, it's not my intention to try to resolve the problems that are going on in the country to our south. Not at all. But as I see this unfolding, for me, it's a message to really examine what's going on in my own life. What is going on in my community? What is going on in my country? And if I don't like what I see, then, you know, what can I do about it? I think we're being called right now to stand up against violence. And that means standing up against violence in our streets, violence in our communities, violence in television, violence in movies. Let us make our voices heard. Those are things that we can do. You know, we're not just, we don't just have to sit and be the silent majority. Let us protest in our own special ways and let it be known what it is that we expect in our government, what we expect in society, how we expect every individual to be treated. It is so important. And so we have to focus upon that water of life. You know, we really need it now. We need it poured over everything, but also we need to be the water of life. We need to be what is bringing about social justice in our own communities and everywhere in the world. It's something that we can do. You know, Dorothy had mastered 2 worlds. She'd mastered, by the time she got back to Kansas, she had mastered Kansas. She had mastered the longing that she had for something different. She had mastered her fears. She had mastered her, you know, her heart. her love. She had mastered her mind, and then she had moved into the spiritual realm. You know, that's the message here. That's what we're all called to do, to walk in both worlds, to walk in the physical realm that surrounds us and to walk in the spiritual realm. To always know that that spiritual realm is with us wherever we go. It does not desert us. It is always there, and we can call upon it to make our lives easier, to make the lives of everyone easier, and can start to see life in a completely different way. We need to be seeing it in a positive way. And we also need to see what we can do in a physical sense. You know, these protests are signs of what is going on, what's going on in our world, what's going on in our own minds, our own hearts. We really have to be cognizant of this and see what it is that we might do to improve. You know, it's been going on for hundreds of years, for thousands of years. And it is time. It is time. I love the slogan, I stand with you. And I also love the slogan, I hear you. And never more have we needed to be those people. And what I want to do is to start a group, a spiritual group with our center. And it might be called We Stand With You, or it might be called We Hear You. But to bring in people from all races and cultures so that we can have the dialogue, so that we can listen, because we haven't been. And it's really time that we do that. And I'm reminded, as I say these things, I'm reminded that our purpose here is to create a world that works for everyone. You know, that is the purpose of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide. And the mission is awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Isn't that beautiful? It's maybe very lofty and very beautiful, but it is something that we can accomplish when that is our main focus in life. It's really important for us to understand that. And we are going through a renaissance of the spirit. There are more people who claim to be spiritual than religious right now. And that's something really important to remember, because in spirituality, we find our deep truth. The truth is within each one of us. It's not in somebody else's books. It's not in scripture. There are lots of wonderful stories in scriptures, in various holy books, but it's not the truth. We have to remember that. It's more like the wizard. And here we are in a place whereby going within through prayer and meditation and through study, we can really learn the truth of who we are, that we are spirit having a human experience. And as spirit having a human experience, really the whole world is open to us. We can accomplish anything. I really, really ask everyone to remember that right now. I'm not just pretending. I really mean this from the bottom of my soul. I mean this. It's our time. Christopher Fry wrote something that I want to share with you. It's something that hung in a poster on my wall for many, many years. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us, till we take the longest stride our souls ever took. Wrong comes up to meet us everywhere. Isn't that what's happening right now? It's coming up to meet us everywhere. What are we going to do about it? And so I want to share with you something from the Hopi elders, which I think is so relevant right now, and something that we can all cleave to our own hearts. You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. Isn't that true? This is the time, right here and right now. This is the time that we really have to change. Now, let us not put up with this violence, with this racism any longer. It is time. It is time to stand up with everyone and to listen to everyone. And they go on saying, there are things to be considered. Where are you living? And what are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in the right relationship? Where is your water? Where is your water of life? Know your garden. Know that garden of your soul and nurture it. Allow spirit to just continue to grow within. Know that the seeds are there. They were planted when you were born, and all the nurturing is there if you but remember it. And so let us together remember it. And then they said, it is time to speak your truth. Create your community. It's so important. Be good to each other, and do not look outside yourself for a leader. Remember that. Don't look outside yourself for a leader. You are the leader. Everyone is a leader. We all have that leadership within us. It is time to claim it, to know it, to own it. This is the good time to do so. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel that they are being torn apart, and they will suffer greatly. Fear is what keeps us holding on to the shore. Fear is what keeps us in suffering. Lack of faith keeps us in suffering. Know that the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore and push off into the middle of the river. Keep our eyes open and our heads above water. See who is in there with you and celebrate. Think about it. When you're in the middle of the river or in the middle of the stream, you're in the current, you're going forward. It is easier. And if you're taking with you people of like mind and spirit, what a wonderful world that you're going to be creating as you go along. And then they said, at this time in history, we are to take nothing personally. Don't take it personally. Least of all, ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and our journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves together in community. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. That was the title of my talk today. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Embrace that. Walk this path. Walk this journey with me. Join in community. Let us be the keepers of our brothers and sisters' souls. When I say that person is my brother, that person is my sister, it means that I am recognizing that spirit source, the intelligence of all that is in each and every one of us, everywhere. That's what relates us one to the other. We all come from that same magnificent spirit. We all have that same spirit within. And so you are my brother and you are my sister. And this is our time. This is the time that we come together to change this world bit by bit. We can each do this. Our time has come, and we are the ones. I'm so grateful from the deepest part of myself to know this to be true and to be able to share it with you today. Thank you for joining me. And if you'd like to make a donation to us, please go to the top of this page if you're on our website and click the donate button, and you can send something through PayPal. No donation is too small. Or you can check our mailing address and send a check there, or an e-transfer to welcome@cslvictoria.org. We are so grateful for everything that you donate because it's what keeps us going through all of the times that we are sharing. And we're so excited to be able to welcome you, if you live here in this community, to welcome you to our new church home, our new center home, If the word church upsets you, we're not your average church. And we'll be there next Sunday in Cook Street Village at 380 Cook Street in the Cook Street Village Activity Center. A wonderful new home. We'll be social isolating. We'll be taking great care. So know that you will be safe. God bless you all. I send my love to all of you and look forward to seeing you soon. And so it is.